Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. Well, it's time for Sumo to get a new rear tire. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to remove the rear tire on a KTM 790 Adventure R. So the first thing you need to do is make sure that your bike is secure and stable. So what I've done is I've used my inexpensive chalk here and strapped the front end of the bike down to stabilize the front end. And then I've jacked the bike up and pushed a little $12 Walmart stool underneath it to lift the rear tire off the ground. The first thing to do is manually press on the brake caliper to compress the piston. This will open the brake pads just a little bit to give clearance for the rotor to drop out of the brake pads. Next thing we'll do is we'll remove this retaining screw here and remove the sensor. The retaining screw is a T30 Torx, in case you're interested. The next thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and remove the axle nut or spindle nut and the chain adjuster block. Axle nut is a 32mm nut. After removing the nut, go ahead and pull out your axle or spindle. And if you can see here, I've put a little bit of a board that was just the right size here to make it easy to pull the spindle out, and that'll allow me to roll the tire forward to remove the chain. To remove the rear wheel once the axle is out, just push it forward far enough that you can slide the chain off the rear sprocket. And KTM has made a nice little feature here where you can lay that chain right on the chain guard there, and that works really well. And then on your wheel here, you'll want to make sure that you take good care of making sure you don't get any debris in the bearings. And you'll also want to put your spacers here off to the side so that you don't lose those. Pretty simple, isn't it? It's not too terribly difficult if you have a little bit of mechanical knowledge at all. Well, now I've got the wheel and the new tire loaded up into my van, and I'm going to head to the local dealer and have them remount the new tire to it. Well, that went really well. I took the wheel and the new tire to my local dealership and went to lunch, and when I came back from lunch they had the new tire mounted for me, so that worked out just perfect. Now, before I put the wheel back on the bike, I'm going to go ahead and inspect the bearings to make sure that everything's nice and clean, and then I'll go ahead and re-grease the bearings and the axle before I put that back in. And since that's going to require me to get a little bit greasy, I'm going to put the camera down while I do that job. Well, the way things go, it doesn't go quite as smoothly putting it back together. I had a hard time lining up the axle with the wheel hub, and just getting everything lined up with the brake caliper. What I did is I did a little helpful hint here, if you try to do this, is I inserted the axle in backwards, or the spindle in backwards, just enough to get the caliper and that part of the swing arm lined up correctly. Once that was all lined up correctly, then reassembly became real easy. So I just went ahead and put the axle in backwards just for a short distance, then turned around and put it in correctly. And all you have to do is not put it in quite all the way, just a portion of the way so that you can still push the tire forward. Push the tire forward, reinstall the chain around the sprocket, and then you can position it in correctly. Now, I've just got the axle nut snugged. I don't have it tightened down yet. It's specified to about 65 foot-pounds, and so I'll get my torque wrench out and torque that down to the correct specs. But what I'll do next here, before I get everything tightened down, is I will go ahead and just lightly tap the rear brake pedal to get the brake pads set and make sure everything is lined up there. Once everything is lined up with the brake pads, then I'll go ahead and tighten the axle nut down, and then after that I'll reinstall the sensor. I'm going to put just a tad bit of Loctite on the sensor, just a tad, not much, just enough to make sure that that doesn't vibrate loose. Well, the job is done. The wheel came off, the wheel went back on, and I have a new tire. So I'm pretty happy with this. I'll get the bike off the stand here and out of the chalk and take it for a ride, make sure everything is good to go, scrub in the new tire just a little bit, and get it so it won't be quite so slick. And if you're interested, it took me only about 10 minutes, 15 minutes max to get the wheel off. It took me probably about a half hour to put it back on, though it probably would have only taken me about 20 minutes until I got smart enough to put the axle in backwards to line everything up. Once I did that, it went back in quickly. So if you do this all the time, you can probably get this on and off in somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes both ways once you know what you're doing. One thing that's really slick about KTM is the way they did this rear axle with the chain tensioner blocks. What's nice is the way they did this, you can leave your chain tension set exactly where you had it and get right back to your exact setting when you pull the wheel off. That's a great feature, and not all bikes make it quite that easy. This feature also ensures that once you had your original setup correct, your wheel alignment with your chain will be correct also. You might also be curious, what tire did I choose to put on here, because it's obviously not the Metzler Karoo 3 that the bike came with. And I decided to go here with the Motoz Rallz. It's a little bit more aggressive rear tire than what the Karoo 3 is. And after I put 2,000 to 3,000 miles on it, I'll do a review on this particular tire and let you know how it did. And then I'll do an update review just like I did on the Karoo 3 to let you know how long it lasted. When I told you that it took me a half hour to put the wheel back on, that also included the greasing of the bearings in the axle. So that may be a little bit of deceiving, but it's something you probably really need to do each time, is check your bearings and then re-grease them. Well, if you found this video helpful and informative, please give it the big thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Until next time, take care.